and predominantly from Hyderabad. So until and unless you have a similar kind of situation, the Andhra Pradesh's economy, we will never see the rise of the services sector. It's only the manufacturing sector that is, we are on par with the national average, which is 25%, which is the secondary sector. But there is a huge thrust that should be put in the tertiary sector, which should grow leaps and bounds, which is the services sector. And our dependence on agriculture gradually should come down, per se not meaning to say that the growth should come down. The growth in agriculture sector is per se not much. You do not see the kind of numbers what you see in the services sector. So it's very important for any particular state to grow. It's very important that the secondary sector, that is the services sector, that is the tertiary sector, should grow leaps and bounds. In fact, owing to this reason, the per capita income of Andhra Pradesh, if one were to compare with Telangana, is only 2,19,518. When compared to the figures of those in Telangana, you would see 3,12,398 for the year 2022. This is the per capita income. Predominantly, it is coming from Hyderabad. The reason why I'm saying this is we would have to have a balanced growth. We would have to harness the strengths that we have. We have a huge coastline of our second largest coastline, in fact, in the country, 974 kilometers of coastline. Now, this is one potential that we need to harness to ensure that we have an economy which is port-led economy, which would support the manufacturing side. While we support the manufacturing side through port-led development, developing our 974-kilometer coastline with various nodes, industrial nodes coming up closer to the ports. While we do so, we also need to strengthen our services sector, developing Visakhapatnam, developing Vizag. It's got to be a mix of both. Only then we would see this kind of growth rate. In fact, to do so, we have, in fact, the state of Andhra Pradesh, before 2019, that is before our regime had come in, the state of Andhra Pradesh exports in 4 locations. Now, in this 5 years of regime, we're actually in a very advanced stage of constructing 4 more ports. In fact, at a rapid pace, the construction of the ports is going on. In fact, 16,000 and odd crores of investment is going in. We've already incurred more than close to 4,000 crores of this investment. And Ramayapatnam is one particular port where, in fact, my people are saying that going forward next month, you would actually see a ship coming into the port. So much so, in progress, one can also see if one were to visit these ports, be it Ramayapatnam port, which is going at a massive pace, be it the Machilipatnam port, which is also progressing at a very, very brisk pace. So is the progress in Kakinada also. It's a private port though, Kakinada being. And then the Mulapeta port coming up in Srikakulam is also moving at a very, very brisk pace. So 3 of them are coming up in government sector, 1 of them is coming up in the private sector. All 4 are moving in a very, very brisk pace. So what we're currently doing is developing what we had 6 ports earlier in 4 locations. We're developing. And then we're building 10 fishing harbors, to support blue economy. We now currently have every 50 kilometers one travels through the coast. Every 50 kilometers you would either see a fishing harbor which is being constructed, or a port which is in existence, or one being constructed. So every 50 kilometers per se, you actually have a booster for the economy currently in the state available. We're also building 6 fish landing centers as well. And then there is a lot of focus on greenfield electronics manufacturing cluster, development of nodes which is taking place. This greenfield electronics manufacturing cluster is coming up at Koparthi and YSR district, and industrial parks in Achutapuram, Orvakallu, and Krishnapatnam. These are all several steps to ensure the development is more balanced across the state. In fact, as I've said, as I've been speaking, such is the proactive nature of the government, and such is the conducive business-friendly environment prevalent in the state, that consistently for the past 3 years, in the category of ease of doing business, the state is rated number 1. This is one major achievement that the state can boast about, trying to showcase that we per se are very friendly to environment, very friendly to industrialists. Now, having said that, it has attracted almost 13 lakh crores in the Global Investors Summit, which we concluded last year. 352 MOUs were signed, an employment potential of close to 6 lakhs. And at a brisk pace, these MOUs are being translated into reality. In fact, out of 352 MOUs that we have actually signed, in fact, 39% of these MOUs have actually translated into actual commissioning of the plants. So at a brisk pace, these things are happening, and we have also been, the economy per se, if one were to look at it, just doesn't come with only the elite or the aloof or the big manufacturing sector alone coming up. It's got to be a mix of everything. In fact, so much so that I would say that the state government has implemented in these 5 years several welfare programs, orienting them towards sustainable self-employment. In fact, every scheme of the state government, if one were to notice the schemes, especially the welfare schemes, one would be surprised to see what kind of a transformational bearing these schemes have. To begin with, everything is DBT, direct benefit transfer, where there's no middleman in between, where everything is transparent and there's no corruption there. Now, having said that, every scheme is hand-holding women. So much so that every scheme is translating. Say, for instance, I speak about Cheyuta as one particular scheme. The scheme actually narrates hand-holding women, same particular woman, consistently for 4 years, every year giving 18,750 rupees for the same woman. So in 4 years' time, you actually handhold the same woman, giving every year 18,750 to the same women. While we are doing that, we ensured that there is a bank tie-up also coming into picture. We've also ensured that big companies, starting from Amul to ITC to Reliance to Procter and Gamble, to such kind of big companies also partnering with these women in sharing opportunities, in showing them livelihood opportunities. So it's a mix of the same women so that these women stand on their feet. Likewise, if one were to see every scheme that the state government has been undertaking in these 5 years, every scheme is a combination of livelihood opportunities, either provided to strengthen the current existing livelihood opportunities or to create new ones. In fact, if one were to actually look at how the employment cycle goes, most of the employment cycle doesn't come from government employment. Government employment per se, before we had come in, probably we had 4 lakh jobs in government sector. And probably government being very proactive in actually providing for jobs could actually create another 2 lakh jobs, which is actually very high. Before we had come in, we had 4 lakhs for decades. And after we had come in, we actually created 50% more jobs in government sector. But that is where it can end. It cannot go beyond that. You're talking about 4 lakhs being to 6 lakhs. Then per se, the big industrialists also, when we were to speak of, if we were to speak of, if one were to see the translation of opportunities of jobs actually created per se for investment that is actually put in, would probably translate to probably 1 crore of investment translating into one particular job. Not much. Maybe adding to another 2 or 3 lakhs, not beyond that. The major contribution comes from 3 other sectors. One is agriculture, which actually constitutes 62% of the workforce. Now, what we have done is support agriculture, where in fact, the best part in agriculture is, the challenging part in agriculture is, even though the fact still remains that 62% of the population depend on agriculture, the fact is 50% of the land holding is less than 1.25 acres, that is half hectare. If one were to translate this land holding into, for calculation's sake, as to up to 1 hectare, if one were to take into consideration, then you're talking about 70% of the land holding is within 1 hectare. We have very small and marginal farmers, and if these small and marginal do not make money, the economy is shattered. What we did, what we could actually do, is come up with those initiatives to handhold farmers through RBKs, setting up of Raitu Bharosa Kendras, where every village has one, where you have an agricultural graduate sitting in those villages, in those RBKs, where everything from seed to sale of crop is handheld through these RBKs. And with such kind of micromanagement, also incentivizing farmers with production incentives as well.